Have you ever swapped out the yarn or colors for a pattern and then wondered, what does this mean for yarn quantities? Hey gang, Jane here. Welcome back to the Snow Lily Throw series as I walk you through the stages of this throw one idea at a time. If you want to sign up for the full series with each step delivered to your inbox, check out the link below. So in the last video, we talked about choosing a color palette, finding yarns that are easy for you to access, and most importantly, making your blanket fun and enjoyable to create in colors that you truly love. This video is going to build on that. Today, we're going to look a little bit further into how to substitute yarn colors, adjust the number of colors that you're using, and work out how much yarn you'll need. Then I'll share the system I use to keep my colors balanced throughout the design. At this point, you probably have a general sense of the colors you'd like to work with. If you're following my supply list and struggling to find one or two of the yarns, I know how frustrating that can be. I get a lot of questions about substitutions, but because I'm limited to the yarns that I have access to myself, it's hard for me to suggest specific alternatives when I'm not really sure what's available to you. So instead of focusing on finding identical substitutes, let's talk about how to find solutions that work for you. When it comes to replacing colors in a specific color palette, you may notice that changing one color naturally leads to changing another, and I fully support that. Once you swap one yarn, a different shade may suddenly work better alongside it. That's a great instinct. Don't be afraid to adjust my color choices to suit what you can find. If you're having trouble tracking down a particular color, take a step back and look at the overall look and feel of the palette you're trying to recreate. In this last video, I talked about how I chose my blue-green palette, but let's switch things up and use the purple throw as an example, just to get a different perspective on this. In that version, I used 5 shades of purple. Instead of hunting for exact matches, I suggest focusing on the idea of the 5 purples and finding 5 that work for you, ranging from the deep purples into the lighter tones and even mixing in a pink or two, as that's kind of what the lighter tones are. Colors behave differently depending on what they're paired with, which is why I love using my yarn sticks. They come shopping with me all the time and make it much easier to see how shades interact. Keep the bigger picture in mind. Find 1 or 2 colors that really call to you, then build around those. You may only be missing 1 or 2 shades, so this is your invitation to get creative and add something that speaks to you. If you end up with only 4 or even 3 purples you love, go with those and simply reduce the number of colors in your final palette. It's better than working with a color that you really don't like or you really think doesn't match the overall look. So now that we've made these changes, what does that mean about our yarn quantity? Well, let's dive into that. I'm going to get into some numbers here, so just stay with me. The throw that I'm making uses approximately 840 grams of yarn total. Yardage varies by brand, so this is a rough estimate. I always recommend erring on the side of buying a little more than you think you'll need. It gives you room to experiment without worrying about running short. And any leftovers are perfect for future scrap projects. Can you really have too much yarn? The throw size that I'm working with measures 42 by 52 inches, so it's basically a lap throw, and it uses a 4 by 5 octagon layout. So for comparison, my Mandala Breeze design, which uses the same shapes, octagons, squares, and triangles, it's a similar layout. It is a 6 by 7 configuration, so it's much bigger. That blanket measures 57 by 68 inches. And for that one, I used approximately 1,610 grams, pretty much double. You can absolutely scale this design up or down, but for the purposes of this video, we're going to stick with the Snow Lily pattern as I've written it. Let's talk about the winter color palette again, since that's the supply list that you currently have. On my first run of this pattern, I did slightly underestimate the amount of winter white that I needed. I didn't take into account how much the border actually required versus how much the floral elements were going to require. So I've updated all of that, and here is the breakdown for that throw. So if you're substituting colors, you'll understand where it's actually getting used. The floral elements, the snow lily, and those white accents used in all of the squares takes just under 100 grams of yarn. The join takes approximately 100 grams as well. And the border takes another 100 grams. So for the winter white, I suggest about 300 grams of it. If you were to change any one of those elements to another color, that would tell you how much to need. Each one takes 100 grams. I also estimated you'll need an additional 10 grams for one of your contrast colors that you're going to use in the border. So be sure to factor that into whichever color you choose for that roll. So now we're going to do some math here. Knowing that the full blanket uses about 840 grams, this is the throw size, I subtract the 300 grams for the winter white. That includes your border, your join, and your floral elements. And then also that extra 10 grams for the border, that gets factored in as well. So that's 310 grams now I'm subtracting. And that leaves 530 grams for your contrast colors. So not the winter white, but all the other colors you're going to use. Because I like to keep my colors balanced, which I will talk about next, you can simply divide that remaining amount by the number of contrast colors you're using. So in the winter color palette, I use 10 contrast colors in addition to that white. And this will work out to approximately 53 grams of each color. If you have a favorite color you know you'll want to feature more heavily, then it's a good idea to grab a little extra of that color, just in case. And of course, the one contrast you're going to use in the border, you're going to need 10 grams more of that one, so you'll need 63 grams. As always, these numbers are approximate and yarn weights vary, so I tend to buy a little more just in case of everything. Most yarns come in 100 gram balls, and that makes it easy to manage because I only need 53 grams of each contrast. I'm going to have double the amount that I need. So in the case of the spring color palette where I used the purples, I didn't use the white for the join in the border. I used one of the contrasts, the cottonwood, I think it's called. So this changed the quantities that I needed. So that's why I like to break this down for you so you can decide if the join and the border are going to be the same, or maybe you're going to make your border all different contrast colors. It helps you decide how much yarn you're going to need for each section of the throw. So if you're finding that you're missing just one of the colors that I suggested and you want to keep everything else the same and you don't feel like substituting another color in there, then just reduce the number of colors. So now instead of 10 colors, let's say you have 9 colors or 8 colors, and then just divide that into that 530 and it'll tell you how much of each one you need. But again, like I said, 100 gram balls, you're going to have lots of each. Now that we've covered quantity, let's talk about my color balancing trick, since these calculations are based on using roughly equal amounts of each of the contrast colors. I often like to crochet with whatever color calls to me, and sometimes I do exactly that, but if I completely wing it, I naturally gravitate toward my favorites, and I always end up using more of them than the others, and that can be a lot of fun too. But when I'm writing the patterns, I prefer to work where all the colors are balanced out. So I often get asked how I do this, and here's my system for that. I did share this system for the Meadow Blossom blanket as well, but I'll go over it again here. I use binder rings to keep my squares organized. I originally used them for the joining method, but they're also really helpful during the color planning stage as well. So using the snow lily as our example, I'm making 20 of this piece for this throw. I like to start by making my centers first, and I will make them one round at a time. I divide 20 by my number of contrast colors, which is 10, which means I make 2 centers in each color. When they're this small, I sometimes keep them in a little baggie to start with. That kind of keeps them all in one place. Then when I move on to round number 2, I repeat the process of dividing the colors. So 2 pieces of each color again. This is where the binder rings really come into play. Here's an example of this from my Meadow Blossom blanket. Notice that the round 2s are the same color, and that's why they ended up on the same ring, and then I will switch it up when I get to round 3. Another great way is to use your sample squares and place each one on a ring, and then the squares you want in that color go on that same ring. It would be like tagging each ring with a color, but you're using your sample square. So I continue this process throughout the square, and of course, when I hit the white rounds, then I know every single one of them gets the white. It also lets me kind of pick the colors as I go, so I lay them out and I think what would be the next nice color to work in this particular case. I like to mirror 1 or 2 colors from the early rounds out into the outer rounds, and I find this helps pull the square together and encourages the eye to move around the design. So I've also made versions where every round is a different color, which gives a more kind of eclectic random look, which also totally legit, but I just personally enjoy adding a bit of hidden symmetry in there by echoing the colors in specific rounds very subtly. So in the written pattern with the 2 different colorways, I actually handled the 2 colorway versions differently in terms of color order. That happens by accident, but apparently I truly can't do the same thing twice, even when I try, so that's creativity for you. Now you've chosen your colors, you have a clear idea of how much yarn you're going to need based on whether you increased or changed up how many contrasts you're using, what color you're using in your join, and what color you want to use on your border. And you've got a simple system for keeping your colors balanced. So next up, we're going to be starting into our squares. The square videos are already up on my YouTube channel, and the next email, if you're following along in the series, will include the link to the snow lily, and I'll throw in a few extra hints like I had mentioned to help you along with this throw. And of course, these color videos are really handy for any project that you're working on. So don't just use this for the snow lily, use it for all your projects going forward. If you'd like these steps delivered straight to your inbox with a few extra tips, you can sign up for the Snow Lily series using the link in the description below. And if you want to go a little deeper to explore color more fully, connect with other makers, and see the behind the scenes thinking as I work through this series, you're always welcome to join me over in my Colorful Creators on Patreon, where I share extra tips and process along the way. I'll see you in the next video, and until then, enjoy.